All right, good luck. It is 9:49 right now. First it was Target, then it was the IRS, the federal government, the online affair website, Ashley Madison. Just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to hackers and breaches. Hackers have managed to compromise millions of people's personal information. And it seems like every week there is another cyber breach that we are warning you about. Once it happens, the affected company usually says, well, we gave everybody free credit monitoring for a year or so. Question is, do people take advantage of it? And should they? Or is there a better way? Here with the details and some advice if it happens to you, financial consultant Chris Bridges. Good to see you this morning.
Good to see you. Thank you.
So I guess that's the first question. It's probably happened to all of us. It's definitely happened to me. You get an email or you get a notification that your information may or may not have been compromised. So we're going to give you this monitoring, whatever it is.
Right.
Honestly, there's a lot of times I've just kind of let it go.
I recently did, actually.
Or
Yeah.
not?
So here's the thing. You should be monitoring your activity and your credit. And if they're going to give it to you for free because you were potentially part of that breach, you might as well take advantage of it. I mean, there are several monitoring services. They offer services that are free as well as maybe up to $30 per month. But it's a good habit to be able to see what's going on. Not necessarily saying that the day after there's an announcement of a breach, that you're going to have your identity compromised, but you never know what will happen down the road.
But they make it so complicated. I just recently got a letter saying something, there's a breach somewhere. And what the steps they asked me to go through, it was so cumbersome. I said, you know what, I'll take my chances, And I know it's bad, but frankly, that was my reaction. A letter sitting somewhere on my desk. I don't even know I didn't do it.
It's almost like it put the onus on us to now have to do all this extra work.
So the question
Because
being
somebody
then,
let the breach happen.
why is it so important to be proactive? Why not just wait until a problem comes up?
But how would you know that the problem has happened if you're not monitoring your credit? And those companies, all of the companies that have had the breaches, by law, they don't have to offer us the service. It's really about goodwill.
So now, realistically, I've had people charge something to my card or whatever, and then I check my statement. It's not a credit service, but I check my statement, and I'm like, now, wait a minute, I didn't buy that. And then I just called them, and it was taken care of.
Right. So there are actually 5 different ways our identity can be breached. And what you just described is just one way. That's bank fraud. And normally we should be checking that account pretty regularly as well. But there are people who don't. There are people who aren't checking their bank statements. They're not checking their credit. And so it's a good habit to at least know. And the monitoring services, at a minimum, will give you an alert. So they at least let you know, hey, there's something new that's happened. A change of address has happened. A new inquiry has happened. But there's something that you may want to be aware of.
Do you find that a lot of people take advantage of it when they do get notified that something is not right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, again, if you're proactive.
Right.
If you're not, this is a different story.
I didn't mean to give you that.
If you're proactive, then you should be, because what it's letting you know is, hey, there's something that you should, again, be aware of. And so at that point, you can check. And it might be something as simple as calling your bank and saying, hey, this is not my charge, and getting it resolved.
But Chris, so here's the thing. Okay, so say you didn't take advantage of it. You have been hacked. Your information compromised somehow. To remedy it, it doesn't seem like the process is as cumbersome as it used to be either, at least for some people. But so once you've been hacked, talk to us about what you could do at that point.
Well, there's a lot of things that could happen. Remember, I said there are 5 ways that people can breach your identity. And when the companies have had these major fraud alerts, the thing is that you're not going to go out and change your name unless you happen to be getting married, but you're not going to change your birth date and your social security number. So that, personal information is out there. And so if you are compromised, depending on what type, let's just say something as simple as a bank fraud, then of course you contact your bank, and we're covered under FDIC. They usually address that pretty easily. You may have to do a fraud alert. If you're compromised by your social security and someone has now gone out and opened up a credit card or opened up, that can be a little bit more complicated to resolve. It may be as simple as making a call and saying, hey, this has happened. You have proof that maybe you were part of a larger fraud incident, and it can be resolved. But there have been people who've had identity theft and have dealt with that for years trying to resolve.
Here's my frustration, Chris. Why is this happening on the big level so much? When we look at this latest breach, this T-Mobile breach, you're saying this went back 2 years. Now, are you telling me that no consumer in that 2 years realized that their security was breached, that their information was breached? And if they did and they reported it, why does it take a corporation 2 years to realize this has happened?
That's a great question. Remember, though, as we're sitting here today, our identity is potentially compromised. Identity theft happens every 3 seconds.
Actually,
So it can happen.
I would say we live in a world
We almost
we're gonna
accept
be,
it.
Yeah, we're going to be.
compromised.
So
right,
what
at some
could have
point.
happened is we could have had a breach and didn't realize it was tied to anything large. Most companies, really, the notification is to the media when it's a large incident. If it's a smaller incident, they may not even tell us. The larger incidents, the notification is when it gets out in the media. So we could have had a problem, and we could have had a fraud incident and didn't realize it could have been tied to
Are we
a larger
telling the right people? If we realize our security's been breached, is there a go-to for us to contact so that everybody knows, so that we don't have to wait 2 years for the next mass breach?
Well, unfortunately, it isn't like that because it'd be hard for you to find out where did it come from.
What do I do? Who do I talk to?
How do we keep our stuff safe?
What's the bottom line?
That's the question. That's the
Sorry.
question. So first of all, let's get the monitoring service. Okay, so if you do get a notification, it's free, and they're paying for it, usually for a year or so. So go ahead and take a minute. I know it may be cumbersome, but activate that so at least you can monitor. If you have a breach, depending again, if it's your bank, go straight to the bank. I mean, I've had that. We've all had that happen. It's easy. If you've had any other type of driver's license, identity theft is another type. Someone can actually take your identity, your driver's record. Medical is another way. People can actually take your medical records. So if you've had these things, you can contact the FTC and put in a fraud notification. Now that is a little cumbersome because there's a lot of documents that you have to fill out. Of course, you want to contact the credit bureaus, notify them of the fraud so that they can put a fraud alert on your file. Of course, you also will probably notify the police. Now, the best advice I would say, because those are the basic steps that you could do. Call all your friends, but again, you don't know. It could have happened at the dry cleaners, at the restaurant, or at T-Mobile. We don't know how. But also, I would suggest get protection. Get identity theft protection service so that if you do have a breach, that is one phone call that you can make, and they'll be able to help you to
Do it. And just so you feel like you're not alone and that anybody can't be hacked, it was actually the credit monitoring service that got hacked.
That got hacked.
I was going
I was
to
going to say,
yeah.
we don't even have time to get into that.
That's a whole nother discussion, but yeah.
Chris.
Hopefully they'll give people a little bit of a break then with their credit reports if they're the ones that got hacked.
And how do we put a bad spell on these hackers?
Right.
That's
Imagine the good they could do in this world, right? With all the intelligence they have.
Right.
Crazy.
Exactly.
Chris, thank you very
You're
much.
more than welcome. Thank you. Thanks.
Still ahead this morning, Hillary channeling the Donald during an SNL cameo. The Nat season is over now. It was a painful kind of last period of the season, but it was a remarkable weekend for the Nationals. A great highlight. Let's take a look though at who stays and who goes. Well, it was a great in retrospect. Okay. All right, haters.
We're not
9:56.
playing in
At least we have the Redskins.
Closer in my